I want to talk to you about my friend Charlie Crawford. He's a 10-time NFR qualifier.
Charlie Crawford, time to just shake it out and win. Got it on him fast, set
there
up.
We are.
Here's a dead
nice
money
run.
lead. You betcha 3-8.
That's an absolute perfect run. Timing was perfect from the time the first swing is up. He's got the control. Charlie made it happen by being timed up with his horse with the steer, and being able to not just rope, but to pick that steer's head up without changing the momentum for the heeler at all.
We know his beautiful wife, Jackie, all three of their beautiful children, the founder of the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, which this year will exceed $1 million raised for military and first responders. I've said it 1,000 times. Charlie, it's time to rope, nod and ride, whip and spur. I want to welcome you to the Charlie Crawford Podcast. Let's ride.
All right, Mr. Rick, glad to have you on.
Good to be on, Charlie.
Good roping session this morning.
Well, thank you. It's I used to rope a little bit, and then I got discouraged and quit for 20 years. And
roping has that reputation.
Yeah, it's a tough thing, especially when you're self-taught. I learned more this morning than I ever learned the whole time I was roping competitively.
Mr. Rick, how old are you?
I'll be 81 in a couple of months.
81.
Yep.
81 and a 9th degree black belt, correct?
Yeah. Probably don't deserve that. There's a lot of people out there that are lower ranked than that they're better than me. But somehow or another, I made it.
That's pretty cool, though, where you keep smashing kind of some goals and some things, even at an experienced age.
Well, I think that's what keeps you going. There has to be something to reach for out there, or you just sitting in your easy chair and watch TV and die.
Well, I remember one time you was telling me too, when we were practicing and training, and you was telling me how much you enjoyed hanging out with younger people.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think I told you old people bored me, and I like to be out with people. I like my son; he's your age. My daughter's your age. I like all the people that my instructor David Foster. One of my black belts that you trained with. He's your age, so I like it. Keeps me in touch with how people are thinking nowadays.
Well, that young blood, that energy.
Yeah,
there's a lot to that.
Yeah, and it's contagious.
Yeah, because I'm still in that constant mentorship stage. I feel like where I'm constantly learning. So even as of now, most of my friends are still all older than me.
Well, I feel like I'm still learning.
Right.
I go to a martial arts clinic, and I have these moments like, why did it take me that? Why didn't I ever figure this out on my own? Someone showed me, and suddenly the light bulb went on. It still happens. I guess it happens all your life.
I guess when I was competing, it was a little bit different. I mean, when I first started competing, I was very attracted to, the knowledge, people with the knowledge. Well, then as I started kind of progressing in age and my ability was getting less because these young kids were kicking my butt, I guess I remembered I did kind of go that route because, it got to where I was one of the older guys out there on the road, and the guys I would spar with were younger than me.
Yeah.
They were the guys that rope better than me. They rode better than me. They were dissecting things in a different level than I was. So I guess in a way in my career, I didn't think about it like that. But yeah, I guess I did do that a little bit with my roping.
Yeah.
But when I retired, then I was trying to find who's successful in business. Who can I learn from? Who can I try to learn all these things outside the arena? But most of the guys in the horsemanship are the guys older than me, because that's where a lot of knowledge comes, is they've had so many reps and things like that. But, then as far as learning jujitsu and things like that, those are people with knowledge. Usually those tend to have gray hairs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, martial arts is an interesting thing. There's so many of them out there, and some are good, some aren't as good as others, but they're all okay. It depends on what you like. I think it's important to get your kids going in some sort of combative sport when they're young. Boxing and wrestling are really good. If you study boxing and wrestling seriously for a year, I think that pretty much bulletproofs your kid. it's a real downer to watch your kid hide in the corner trying to be invisible because of the bully, you know.
Absolutely.
And 1 year of wrestling, 1 year of boxing, he won't do that anymore. He'll have the confidence in himself that bully will recognize. He won't have to hide in the corner. He can just go about his business, you know. Every man, and you learn to be a man while you're a boy, needs to be dangerous. They need to be able to control that danger, though.
Absolutely.
But they have to have that, because if you're just nice, that's your only choice.
Got nothing to you.
Yeah. There's no other option. So you've got to be.
My opinion is the same as a father.
Yeah.
To be able to protect your family, you better be able to protect your family.
You bet. Yeah.
And you can't talk your way through that with a bully.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the self-defense aspect of martial arts, but I don't like a lot of the other stuff that goes along with it. You know, the stuff that we do, you know, we just do what we want to do. You know, there's no charts to go by and anything like that. You know, I've taught defensive handgun, defensive carbine. I teach people how to, you know, defend themselves from the bottom up, from protecting themselves from home invasion, carjacking. That's part of the self-defense. You know, that's part of the Alamo that you build to defend yourself and your family for the rest of your life.
I really like the discipline that it comes with. I like the fact of, since I've retired also, is that for me, learning something new really helps me relate to a lot of the people that come to my clinics.
Yeah.
Because when I was really good at roping, sometimes it was very hard to explain it. Well, coming to jiu-jitsu, and one of the things I really liked is when you were a white belt and you became a yellow belt, then you had to also help someone that was a white belt how to learn how to be a yellow belt. So not only did you learn the moves, but then you had to learn how to articulate it and explain it and help someone else. And the learning, you got twice as much out of your learning.
Sure. See one, do one, teach one. And it's not.
That's helped me a lot with my teaching.
Yeah. You want to teach people to be teachers. You'll get to that age where you're trying to help people learn how to teach people coming up.
I think one of the biggest things that you taught me was I guess you'd probably call it fight or flight, but this is what really resonated with me with a lot of the people that I teach, is when you nod your head and the adrenaline comes to chase the steer and you're going faster than you're comfortable being, is when, I don't remember what belt I was. I think I was maybe it doesn't matter, but it was enough to where you were teaching me enough at a slow pace, the high blocks, the low blocks, you know, all the different maneuvers and things like that. And then you had me square up against David. David's 6'3". David's a black belt. Then he fights on the weekends and tournaments. And you're like, all right, now go. And I think within 2 seconds, I was in some sort of pretzel tapping, just like, stop him, stop. And then you looked at me and he goes, do you not remember your training?
Do you remember your training?
I don't even remember my name. And to me, that was the perfect example of the fact that all of a sudden then I put everything on such a pedestal and my adrenaline showed up, and all of a sudden I forgot everything. And to me, that was the best learning thing that I could have got, because of like, it's not instilled yet. It's not a reaction.
Yeah.
And to me, that helped me so much with when I'm teaching, is I've got to get these guys right there to where this is a reaction. We've got to do this enough to where this is a reaction, to know where your left hand goes forward, your right hand goes back, where your landing position is to be able to find that swing. It's got to be a reaction, because when you add speed, you've got to be able to trust those reactions. And when we added speed, everything went blank.
Well, I saw that this morning when we were roping. You know, I wish you'd have been. Well, actually, I wish you'd have been around when I was roping. You were around.
But how crazy was that?
Was that something?
So what was your rank in the military?
I was a colonel. I retired as a colonel. I didn't make the general officers list because I would have been promoted to the Peter Principle. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. There was a book written back in the 70s by a guy named Peter someone, and it was called the Peter Principle, and it was being promoted to your level of incompetency. So I figured that's probably why I was probably best never to be promoted to general and be promoted to my level of incompetency, because I would have had to have been a staff officer, and I hated that. I wanted to be in the field. And so I was able to fly my whole career.
So you were in the Air Force, correct?
31 years. 31 years. It only seemed like 100. And that was a long time ago. You know, I mean, the military isn't what it was when I But really, when I really came in, I was a Vietnam era guy. I was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam.
What do you think changed? You were a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. So what do you think changed from when you started to where it's at now?
Well, one of the big changes was women in combat. And I'm very much against that. I
think it really showed on the big stage about 9 days ago, didn't it?
It really did. Yeah. Yeah. This DEI stuff, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is it's going to run us. It's going to run the culture because, if you have to take every tribe that we have, and that's what a portion of our government is trying to do, is to divide us by species, gender, race, and if you insist that every species, gender, and race by their population is included in your organization, you're not promoting on merit. The cream is not coming to the top, and that's what's happening in the airline industry. The airline industry is getting to be risky to fly. I think.
Well, I've heard it. Yeah, I've already heard all the trials going on with Boeing.
Oh yeah.
The door fell off.
Oh, their airplanes are falling apart.
United's been a train wreck. Every United flight that I've been on this year has been delayed. I don't know how many clinics I've had to postpone, or because of time, because of the freaking United. It's been terrible. I've even heard of the wheels falling off on a landing. Kelsey Domer was telling us about. I think she was on a United flight this summer as well, and the wings didn't come out to where when you landed, it slowed the plane down.
The flaps, they stayed down, and she said when it hit the ground, she thought she was dying. We've been flying for how long? And now all of a sudden a few years. This is happening. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the incompetency within our government. But yet you look at the Boeing CEO and you look at how much more money he's making now than when he started. But when you start cutting safety regulation costs, I guess you're able to pay the CEOs a little bit more. But
the CEOs are graded. They're graded by their implementation of DEI, and so the higher the grade, the more pay they get.
So there's where our competence is going down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
But so you were a colonel in the Air Force.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and that was at Portland, Oregon. And you grew up in Canby, just south of Portland,
yep.
And we used to rope at the same place. And I'm sure we bumped into each other. I'm sure I roped with your dad. He was a healer and I was a header. And you were just a teenager then. And
I think I was younger than that. What years were you there?
Well, let's see, I left in 98.
Yeah.
So.
Because you roped up to the Saddle Club in Vancouver, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
That's where I cut my teeth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we bump into each other down here.
Yeah, I used to rope at a little place we called Viola, Oregon, right over there by a little creek. There was a saddle club there. I remember growing up roping there and won my first saddle there. And then roped in the Vancouver and Saddle Club up there, and the indoor barn and the outdoor barn.
Yeah.
Used to enter the amateur rodeos there a bunch. Vancouver's one of the best MPRA rodeos up there in the summertime.
Yeah.
And then Winlock, Washington. There were some really good summer jackpots up there and stuff. And so, yeah, I cut my teeth up and down that I-5 interstate.
Yeah, we've talked about people that we both remember, the names coming back.
Yeah, Joe Crowder?
Joe Crowder, yeah. Yeah, I haven't heard.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That Stephenville, Texas is where we ended up meeting. But,
yeah,
I grew up in the same spot you were stationed.
Not even doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember you came to the school that I owned in Stephenville, and you and Jackie came. And then the next time you came, Jackie didn't come with you, and she had just discovered that she was pregnant. So how old is Creed now? He's 7.
He's 7.
And so that must have been about 8 years ago when you came.
Yeah, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They become your oldest purple belt.
Yeah. Yeah, and you became the oldest orange belt that I'd ever had. And every time you'd come back, you finally got your orange belt, and then you'd come back, and I said, well, Charlie, it's been 3 months, so we probably need to review what you've done. And it was like you'd never done it before,
yep.
And you already got rank in it. But I will add, in the past few months, we've been doing some private lessons, which I do now. I don't teach at the school anymore. I do private lessons, and you've gotten pretty good. I want to let you know that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Good instructions.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it really does help a lot with my teaching. Just to learn a new art, to learn a new And it's such an art to jiu-jitsu, and I like it because it does seem like there's not there, like boxing, it's pretty hard for a lightweight to compete with a heavyweight.
Right.
And same with any other probably discipline, where the art form of jiu-jitsu is that if you're very knowledgeable with it and you learn the technique, you can hang with a lot of different sizes and defend yourself in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. And just to make it clear, the jiu-jitsu that we teach is not just Brazilian jiu-jitsu. There's striking involved, so it's an old form of jiu-jitsu with a little bit of kempo mixed in.
Yeah,
but it's a good art, and the parts of it that we've been practicing, I think, are very useful, and you can pass those along.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's something I'll be teaching Creed.
Sure,
have him in there for sure. And we've already got him in Taekwondo. That one session was so dang funny. Just watch him trying to figure out how to do his push-ups and sit-ups, but yeah, then now we got him in little ninjas. But yeah, it's so good for him just to watch the discipline and just the hand-eye coordination that it develops. But I think this we talked about it earlier, but I really think that this fall I believe that gymnastics will be really good for him.
Yeah,
and something to where it's not competitive against someone else, just him against himself, and the balance and all that thing, and then all that stuff. And then I think wrestling is going to be this winter. I'm really excited to get him into that. That's one thing I wish my dad wouldn't have let me quit doing was wrestling.
Yeah.
I was terrible at it, but I liked it. I liked the physicalness of it. But all my friends are playing basketball.
Yeah. Wrestling is
too slow for basketball.
Well, like I said earlier, boxing and wrestling, if you could do those two, everything else will come to you.
Mm-hmm. So what in the Air Force, when you were a colonel, what all did you fly? First of all, how does the ranking to get to a colonel? What's the steps?
Well, I was,
besides 31 years.
I went through ROTC at Arizona State. And I graduated there and I was commissioned as a second lieutenant. And then I made first lieutenant. And then after 3 years, I made captain. And I was one of the oldest captains in captivity for a while and finally made major. And then lieutenant colonel, and then colonel. And the next rank is after colonel is brigadier general, which I did not ever get selected to be on that list. I retired before I got selected to, or I probably never would have been. But and that was no big loss. I'm happy with what I did, and I'm glad it's behind me. I'm glad. I don't think I would do it today. I don't think I could stand what's going on today. I just couldn't deal with having a man come out dressed in a woman's uniform and speaking before me. I don't think I could deal with that.
That's the one thing that it's odd for me to say, as much as I love this country, that I wouldn't let Creed join the military right now.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would.
Because I can't let my kids die for what's going on with the government has going on. Now, I would enlist to fight what's going on right now in our country.
Yeah.
But not to be sent off in some war for no reason.
Well,
launder money, what it almost feels like.
The reason for all these intelligence apparatuses exist today, like the CIA and all the other intelligence apparatus that go along with that, is to continue being in a war. Because that's the only thing that will sustain the military-industrial complex.
Money.
Yeah, that's what keeps it rolling in. So Eisenhower warned us about that in 1950 when he left office, and it's just incredible that no one. I think that people did know about it, but the people that got in power did it anyway. But we've been involved in a war, well, all my life, We haven't not been involved in one. And when we couldn't get one started, we had a Cold War with Russia or the Soviet Union. And now we're fighting a proxy war with between Ukraine and Russia, and that's where all our money goes. Lockheed is cranking out F-35s right now, and there's no place to put them. The military didn't have any place to put them, so they're just sitting out there at how many million each? I don't know what they cost. The price just keeps going up and up and up, and they just keep cranking them out. And we don't even have an enemy. Our enemies, wear sandals and live in caves and do their mission planning on a cell phone.
Well, I feel like right now this country's enemy, is in our government.
Within,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. We've talked about that in the past.
I don't feel like it's. I mean, there's some foreign stuff. I mean, we don't really know what China has going on with what our government's going on, but everything it feels like is within, right?
I don't know that China's an enemy. If China, we're their number one purchaser. If all you have to do is go to the store and try and find something that's not made in China.
Yeah.
Why would they want to kill the goose that laid the golden egg? I just don't understand that.
To me, it really feels like what's going on is I think Trump has exposed a lot of what's going on. And whether you like Trump or not, just think of this. Right now, so I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat. I would love for somebody in office to be able to just do what the Constitution says. And right now, I don't see either one of them doing it. Now, the only reason why Trump is a Republican is because that's the best option right now to run through.
Right.
But you can tell who they're trying to shove in front of us. That was Nikki Haley, and she feels owned as can be. No different than what's going on in the Democratic Party. But just take Trump out of the equation. Say you like Aaron Rodgers. Say you like RFK Jr., which I like too. But if you're not a part of the establishment, you're the enemy.
That's right.
And when all these establishments, whether it's big tech, big pharma, the military-industrial complex, you go down the line of all these things that are establishment-based, and the WEF and everything else is going on, you can tell they all own the media. They're poisoning us with their foods. And if you're not on their team, then they demonize you. And the amount of people that are just misunderstood about Trump, in my opinion, now, like I said, he says some off-the-wall stuff. He gets in his own way on certain things. But you can tell, look at the resume he had in 4 years and look at the resume Biden had in 4 years. So it doesn't take very long to see which one was owned and which one wasn't.
Yeah. Well, Trump's a casino, hotel, golf course promoter. He buys businesses that are going out of business, declares bankruptcy and makes, billions of dollars on them. He's a businessman, a big time businessman. And he's not interested in keeping wars going. As a matter of fact, when he was the president, we didn't have a war going. Right now, we're run by an administrative state. The elected officials are not calling the shots. Somebody is, but we don't know who.
Yeah.
There's an elite group of people in the United States that are made up of multi-billionaires and high-level government unelected bureaucrats that are having the elected officials do their puppets. And Trump is not going to do that. And that's why they want him dead.
If you're not so blinded by Trump, look at what he's running against. And the talking points of the talking heads is talking about how he's going to demolish democracy. Look at the amount of millions of people behind him right now. And you want to say that the Democratic Party has been fighting democracy. Oh, it's going to democracy this, democracy that. And then what if they just do with Biden and Kamala?
Yeah.
She's not in there by the people. Biden was actually there that was voted in by the people.
Yeah.
And then they just take him out and put her in.
And
That's
she
not democracy.
doesn't come across as the brightest bulb either, does she?
Well, I'm wondering where's Biden?
I don't know if there is a Biden.
I think it's been 6 days, and
Nobody's seen him.
No one's seen him.
I think he made a telephone call, or there was a telephone call said by someone that said it was him.
Yeah, she almost said it was a recording, so it makes you wonder what that was.
Yeah. There's all sorts of screwy things going on that the media can't hide. There's too many.
They're trying.
They're trying.
The harder they're trying, the more obvious it gets.
Well, Kim Cheadle is the director of the Secret Service, and she was been questioned by Congress for the last few days. And one of the things that they have not asked her, the question that they have not asked her is, were there really any Secret Service agents at the Trump rally the day he tried the assassination attempt?
So how long ago has it been? 10 days now, hasn't it?
Something like that.
So what was your take on that? 10 days ago at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. What was your take on that?
I was standing outside. My wife came out the back door and she said, Trump's been shot. So I went inside and looked at the TV, and immediately I thought, this is not real. What we're seeing is what we're supposed to see. There's something going on behind the scenes here. The whole thing looked staged. The picture of him standing up with blood running down his cheek with a flag in the background, raising his fist, it looks staged. I watched the video of the bullet, and I know this. I'm convinced someone shot at him, and maybe he really is that tough. I don't know. I don't know that I could do that. Wait a minute. Wait till I get my shoes.
What a stud.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. No kidding.
When he did that, when he freaking got up with blood all over his face and got up and threw his fist in the air, I haven't seen the country this patriotic in a long time.
Yeah. Half of them.
Well, I think you're starting to see a little bit more than half. When Elon Musk, who voted for Biden, now is 100% behind Trump, donating $45
million a month.
And amount of other CEOs that now have like, you know what, I can definitely tell if this guy's taking a bullet from us, you can tell. Because when Trump said, they're not after me, they're after you, I'm just in their way.
He's been saying that for years.
What better proof of that right there when he has his fist in the air with the American flag behind him? Tough, brass, bald sumbitch.
Yeah.
That won over a lot of people. Even the games now in baseball that I'm starting to see where guys are hitting home runs, putting their fist in the air, going, fight.
Putting their hand over their ear.
Like, there's starting to be some more it's slowly coming, but you can start seeing the countries. To me, it starts to feel like it's waking up in a lot of different ways.
Well, it is the Cinderella dream to have somebody ride in on a white horse and clean up the mess. But I don't know if it's possible.
I don't either. You have to hope so, because this is a great country. So you have to hope that you have to hope there's enough good people left in the world.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we can't just sit back and let it happen.
Well,
because it looks like, look what they're doing. They left a wide open spot right there to smoke him down there with a gun. As you being in the military, you know enough about Secret Service. What is that allowed?
No, I don't think so.
So what's your take on that?
Well, I'm not sure the Secret Service was there. I see those female Secret Service agents bumbling around outside the car. One of them trying to holster her gun, couldn't even get it back in the holster, like she'd never done this before. And I'm wondering, she looks more like a crisis actor or a plant, just a day worker than a Secret Service agent.
What about the girl that come in there, the Secret Service that was in front of Trump, and she was 5'5" or whatever, and he's like 6'2" or 3"? She's not even protecting his head. That's not code.
Well, they knew that there was a threat for an hour before the thing. Why did they even let him go on stage? Why was he even up there until they got that thing?
And he didn't even know about it.
Yeah, that should have been settled before they went up there.
So this 20-year-old assassin somehow sneaks through security with a rangefinder, an AR,
an AR-15, and a ladder that he bought on the way. I saw a picture of the ladder, and it wouldn't fit in a car. He must have had a flatbed, or he must have had a pickup, but he didn't. They saw him an hour before the.
And did you hear is it the CIA director? Is that her name?
Kim Cheadle.
Did you hear where they asked why that building wasn't secured?
The slope.
The slope, and did you hear her last statement yesterday? It was also too hot.
Yeah.
It was too hot for him to be on top of that building.
Yeah.
That's wild. And
yeah, it really is.
Supposedly the security was inside that building.
The security. He was on top of the building that the security was using for their command post.
Gosh dang it!
If there was any security, who knows? We don't know.
The country is really losing a lot of confidence in this country real fast.
I have.
Yeah.
I have. I gave 31 years to it, and now I just shake my head. Thinking, what'd I do?
Well, look what the Biden administration has saddled us with just this year. You're literally working to pay your taxes.
Yeah.
You're taxed on everything. You're taxed on the money you earn. You're taxed on the money you spend. You're taxed on owning a place, even though you already paid taxes to buy the place. Now you got property taxes. The taxes is coming to drive your car, to own your car. It's in every single thing that you do, to where literally at the end of the month, that's what I tell all my people that come to my clinic. I'm like, thank you for attending. Thank you for trusting me with the extra money that you have at the end of the month, because I know that there isn't much left by the time you pay your bills. So thank you for trusting me that I'm going to work my ass off to try to help you get to the pay window.
And I'm not going to tax you.
and I'm not going to tax you. But I mean, gosh, I mean, look at the difference from 4 years and then this, 3.5 years. There's not a more obvious resume from one president to the other. It's like I said, I hope that this country's woken up enough that there's still some Rambos and some good guys left to be able to get this country back, because it's going in a bad spot right now.
I hope so.
Like I said, I'm starting to see Elon Musk and a lot of other people starting. I was watching, I think it was maybe Brett Weinstein. I can't remember his name. It was something like that on Tucker Carlson. And he said that COVID was actually something that they underestimated, was the fact that now they're starting to put a lot of the bright minds and strong, courageous people on one side. And he said when they did that, I don't think they underestimated the fact that with what those regulations were doing, people that had common sense, that are courageous and had bright minds, are like, hey, something ain't right. The more that they keep doing, the more that the media keeps lying to us, the more these assassinations keep happening, things like that, it's pushing more people all gathered up on one side. And he said, I don't think they really seen that coming. He said, now, it's going to probably come down to a fight. And he didn't call it a civil war, but he definitely called it to where there's going to be something to where they've bunched all these people together. You're starting to see where the military guys are getting behind Trump. When he landed the other day back home, you've seen a whole group of guys right there that had his back. You're starting to see a lot more people all gathered up right over here. And he says, it's going to come down to that happening. He said, but he said, it's going to be a fight. He said, I like our odds though. He said, it's going to be hard. He said, but I like our odds.
Well, we may be in a civil war now where the shooting hadn't started. Or it may never start.
We might have been only inches away from one.
Yeah.
The other day, about 10 days ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have how many people at the J6ers that are still in prison, haven't ever even been tried yet? Haven't even seen a judge?
But yet they question every one of them and their grandmothers.
Yeah.
But yet they still can't get in that 20-year-old's phone.
Political prisoners.
But that 20-year-old that tried to assassinate a president, they can't even get in his phone.
No, they can't get in his phone. Unable to get in his phone. They can get in mine.
I know they're listening. I know they're watching all my stuff. Probably. I know they're listening to this podcast, probably.
Tucker Carlson said he thought Signal was safe until until the government got into it.
Yeah. It's concerning.
It is.
It's very concerning.
It's very concerning. Even I don't have that much longer to go here. People don't live as long as I've already outlived my usefulness I just hope to see it. I just hope to see a turnaround before I'm gone. I would really like to see that.
Yeah, me too. It's not so much that I like to keep up with politics because I don't have nothing to do. I try to keep up with what's going on because, for one, it affects my money. When Biden became president, I was in the middle of construction, and by the time I applied for a loan to buy 3 houses to put on for some rentals, I applied for the loan when Trump was president. By the time I got accepted, Biden had, whatever you want to call it, he was our president. By that short amount of time, by the time I went back to go buy those houses, I lost $75,000.
Wow.
$25,000 a house. And so I started seeing how much less money I started having. So who you vote for has a lot to do with how much more money you're going to have in your pocket. And so that's a big part of why I try to keep up with what's going on. But the biggest thing is my kids. This is what we're going to be leaving. Look at the amount of debt that we have. They're going to be leaving. I mean, the taxes are going to be even higher. Inflation is going to be higher. This is what my kids are going to have to deal with. How are they going to get a house? What are they being taught? One of the things that all this critical race theory and all this stuff that they're teaching in school, the transgender mind virus, the woke mind virus, all the stuff that's going on right there, guys got to be real careful on what, when you're gone for all day working, the mom's gone now working, the dad's gone working, trying to pay their taxes and try to make a living. Well, who's raising our kids?
Well, the school is raising them,
8 hours a day.
That's right.
And so what's going on in those schools? Guys got to know.
Yeah.
Guys got to be real careful on what the heck's going on right now, because I'm telling you what, you touch my kids, you mess with my kids, you find out. That's where my blood goes real red and my eyesight goes real dim, because that's what a guy's got to really pay attention to is what's going on right now, because it feels like they're affecting what's going on with our kids right now.
Yeah, the Department of Education needs to be shut down. The states can do that. The counties can do it. You know, there's famous people never even went to school. You know, haven't had public education all throughout this history of this country, and it did well before public education. Mm-hmm. And what are they being taught? You don't know. You know, they're not required to tell you.
Yeah. Well, you see what they did in California,
where they made it okay for transgender training on kids without telling their parents. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard about that.
Elon Musk he's moving one of his companies now from California to Texas.
I know it.
You see where he lost one of his sons to it?
Committed suicide.
Xavier. Mm-hmm. So he is after the woke virus right now, big time.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know why.
And this is nothing against the public school teachers. There's plenty of good teachers out there, but there's also teachers in there that shouldn't be teachers.
Yeah,
this ain't for the good teachers. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the stuff that is getting infected in our and I'm sure they're as frustrated as we are.
Well, it's systemic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah, and they're quitting. You know, the good ones are quitting.
Well, you would sure think there would be a big opportunity right now for homeschooling for them.
You would. You know,
then they probably make more money and a lot less headache. Because that's why I know, you know, luckily we live in a great bubble. You know, the Western industry, we're protected. You know, we got such a good industry to where we don't see that much. You know, a lot of people in the Western industry, like if I was to talk about politics, they would have no idea what's going on. You know, because it doesn't really affect them. You know, what affects them? How good their horse stays sound. You know, to be able to get on a good horse and how good their rope feels to where they're trying to win money. You know, so most cowboys are pretty oblivious to what's going on politically or anything like that. And so, but that's the secure bubble that we have. You know, even here in Huckabee, you know, the school here in Huckabee is a great school. It's K through 12. You know, one of the administrators there, you know, he's a cutting horse. He rides cutting horses, and just a great school. Great that my kids' teachers are awesome. You know, and so like we live in a bubble. You know, it's not like that everywhere.
No, it's not.
But it's one of the, I remember I embarrassed the heck out of Jackie because I asked him when we sat down, like, all right, what are you teaching our kid? Like, I was very direct. And I'm not scared to hurt no one's feelings because I want to know my kid's future is a lot more important than someone else's feelings. And so I was very direct, and they were very good about what he was being taught. And so that gives me a lot more confidence in what's going on. But I guess I can't say that, man, in California, that they're going to be leaving in droves. If they can.
My niece lives in California, and they would move in a minute if they could.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
I can't believe that that's something that's an issue. You know, that's what's crazy is it feels like we're fighting so many things that are not even an issue. You know, killing our kids, abortions, that's an issue. You know, having transgender, that's an issue. How about a living cost? How about jobs? How about the fact that our border's wide open?
Yeah.
You know, how about things that are like safety? You know, we're on the brink of war. How about those things that are really issues? How about we start talking about issues instead of things? To me, it's things that don't matter to keep us distracted from everything else. But I mean, just the fact that our government's getting so overrun and engulfed with so much bullshit.
Well, speaking of the borders, almost 12 million people have come across the border since the Biden administration took over, and we don't know who they are. We don't even know where they are.
What do you think the reason for that is? Because I know they've been trying to get them to where they can vote, but that got shot down.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the birth rate of America. Once you you have to have a 2.1 birth rate in order to keep the population the same, and we were down below 1.6, and there's no economic model once you get below 1.6 birth rate that can keep your culture going. So you got to get them from somewhere. That's what happened to Germany. That's why they're letting people in over there. But it's becoming an Islamic country, and a lot of Europe is, and like Great Britain. It's not really Great Britain anymore. It's sort of okay Britain. It might be, pretty good Britain, but it's not Great Britain anymore. Because of third world immigration. I mean, let's face it. Call me a racist, call me whatever you want to call me. When you put a fresh apple in a barrel full of rotten apples, it doesn't make all the rest of them ripe or fresh. It just, it's not the way it goes.
Well, I think the most common sense is what the politicians are just so damn sleazy about is they just manipulate and do so many, like kids in cages, and shoot, that turned out to be Obama's deal.
Yeah.
And they blame Trump for it. Well, that's just a distraction of the fact. But I mean, when it comes to the common sense, is like he's very outspoken about we're for immigration, but they have to go through a process.
Yeah.
So like to me, the concern of when they're bringing all these people in, who are they? You've been hearing rumors of jails that are just getting emptied out, and they're shoving them up here.
Well,
Congo.
and you can't get in. You can't get in the right way. And we both know a family, that were a member of my school when you trained there, who have been in the United States for, well, how old is Manny? 14, 15. They've been here 12 years. They're still trying to get citizenship. They own a business. They're very respectable people, and they
contributes to society. Respectable people.
They've paid almost $1 million in legal fees trying to get citizenship.
Yeah,
and they can't do it. And they're great people, and they're from Mexico.
Yeah,
and they raise very nice horses out near Dublin, and you know who I'm talking about.
So, what do you think the reason for bringing all these people in?
Well,
because I think that's kind of the question everyone, if any common sense is, first of all, it's obvious they were trying for votes. They actually appealed it and it got turned down. So then what's the other? I mean, they knew that was going to get turned down. So now what's the reason?
That's a good question. Like I said, we're not having enough kids of our own. So that's one reason. That's one thing that I see. But the people that they're letting in is what is suspicious.
Yes.
It's not just people coming from South and Central America and Mexico. They're letting people in from China. And you don't leave China without China's permission. And if you do leave China with their permission, it's with the understanding that anytime they need to use you, you will respond. They have to do that's it.
That's concerning.
You're literally a Chinese
asset.
Yeah.
That's very concerning.
Yeah.
Huh? That's what I think a lot of common sense is. What's wild is that, they call so many conspiracy theories on this, but when they leave it unopened, you have to figure out what the heck it is. There's a reason for it.
Well,
a lot of these conspiracy theories has only been about a 1 month off.
Not only that, they're the only reasonable thing left.
Yeah.
People say, well, that's a conspiracy theory. What's the only reasonable thing that I can come up with?
Yeah.
Well, you're telling me it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's wild. It's like I say, it's concerning. But yeah, these election years are wild.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, they really are, aren't they? Actually, it's very interesting times we live in. Not fun, but very interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody knows all of what's going on. I know I certainly don't. I'm confused.
I feel like we found out more now than ever.
Yeah.
I feel like now it's got me questioning everything.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only 2 times I ever voted was for Bush, as I think everyone that told me that you got to watch out for Gore. So I voted then. Well, when it come down to Obama, everyone told me what Obama was going to do.
He told us what he was going to do. He was going to fundamentally transform America. Those were his exact words.
And I wasn't a fan of him, but I also wasn't a fan of Romney. And I really was not a fan of McCain.
Yeah, I know.
Those seemed like sleazy politicians.
That was just their turn.
I didn't even vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can kind of start seeing what was going on then. But like now that the CIA or the Secret Service, we can tell what's going on there. We can tell what during COVID and the vaccinations and all the people now getting screwed up by the vaccines. I was watching something the other day on Patrick Bet David where a lady had gotten messed up from the vaccine, and she was a nurse. I think her sister was a nurse. Nurses was actually in their family. I think she married an MD. She's a very highly educated person. And she wasn't she actually thought she was trying to do good, and she wore masks outside when they were hiking. She went with all the rules of everyone that told her what to do and just was trying to. And she said, in her opinion, she thought that she was doing good. She thought she was keeping other people safe. She was doing it for the greater good. Got the vaccine. I think her kids got the vaccine. Her son got, or she got the vaccine, or her husband and her kids got the vaccine. And it screwed her up. Instantly started tingling down her right arm. Then it went across her chest. Then it went to her right arm. Then it went to her legs. And she had to go to the hospital. And her legs got working. And the vaccine screwed her up. And she said she was one of amongst, I think she said like 48,000 people that have had some things happen from the vaccine. And she signed a waiver saying that if anything was going to happen to her, that they would take care of her. Well, she's got hundreds of $1,000s in doctor bills, and they're not taking care of her.
Mm-hmm.
So she woke up. She woke up now. She knows what's up now. And that was something that was forced on us from the government. And what was really frustrating to hear about this was the fact that Big Pharma is not liable. That contract they signed when these vaccines came out, that they're not liable for anything that happens.
Yeah.
And then the government has the same contract. So no one's liable for any of these things that happen, even though you were forced into it by some people's work and jobs. They were forced into a lot of these vaccinations. And so then when you start looking at it, it's like, our government's lying to us. We look at what our food is. Look at the food pyramid. Look where they're trying to shove down us. And then after a while, I question so many things. It's like, was any of our elections even for the people?
Yeah.
Did they even land on the moon? You know what I mean? There's so many things now that's going on that we're like, my belief system is fouled.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that feel like it's gotten encumbered, especially the media.
And the government is not trying to hide anything anymore.
They got exposed.
They're out for you.
Yeah.
You are the enemy.
It goes to show you, in my opinion now, that if a guy lives in a worldly mindset, that you're going to go crazy. And there's only one God, and there's only
That's right.
one thing that
we won't have peace until the Prince of Peace returns.
Yep. Yeah. And it's really, the more that I kind of watch all this stuff, it's like, man, you can really see where the biblical times are coming out. You can see to where you can't put your trust in the government. You can't put your trust in the politicians. There's only one person that was perfect that was on this world, and that's where a guy's got to start putting his trust, or a guy's going to go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right. I'm not sure if we're in the end times yet. I think there's some things that have to happen first, but I'm also the vice president of an online international Bible Institute. So
tell me about that.
It's the Millennial Bible Institute that is run by a guy named Mike McDaniels. He's just a great scholar, Bible scholar, and I really have a lot of respect for him. He lives out in Imperial near Monahans, and we have representatives all around the world. We have Portugal, in Africa, in South America, Panama, and it's a non-denominational. It's a biblical doctrinal institute, and it goes in pretty deep to doctrine. And I've been a Christian for a long time, but I didn't realize how much I didn't know until I got around this guy and started studying under him and being shown where we're flat told things in the Bible that we just read right past. We're sloppy readers.
I know I am.
Yeah. I think everybody is. They have their own. They have their opinion, and really everything that all those opinions are addressed. But I think the timeline is biblically. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're on our own for a little bit longer.
It's one of those things. It's almost like you're hoping it's a fad, because where this country was at during the Vietnam War was a rough time.
That was tough.
And so you're almost hoping that this is a fad, where some of this stuff that's getting thrown at us is starting to get like exposed to where it gets shut down. Well, we'll see. But yeah, other than that, it does start to feel like that when wrong becomes right, what it talks about that in the Bible.
Yeah.
and you're starting to see where now we don't, now people are getting confused with what gender they are.
Yeah.
To me, that's where the signs of it are at.
Well, that is a sign.
Yeah.
You're right about that. Yeah. But, of course, from the Institute's perspective, we're not allowed to get political about that. So I don't wear that hat when I talk about politics.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's really one of those things that's really, grounded, I think, where I'm at. Like when a guy tries to take his time and see where some of this stuff is, but then not let it overtake. And you can see where not letting the world, not having a worldly view, being able to trust him and trust that, he's in control. This is a pretty good test.
It's a hard thing to do, isn't it?
It's a hard test right now.
And that's what the doubters tell you. If he's in control, why is he letting this happen? Well, he isn't letting it happen. We're causing it to happen.
Yes. Yes. Sin is what's getting overran.
Yeah. Sin has been around, since the beginning.
The devil is a heck of a marketer.
Yes, he is.
He can, marketing sometimes gets also thrown in the same line as a lie.
And he can trick you so easily.
Even from the apple.
Mm-hmm. It was that woman you gave me, God. She made me do it.
I remember that one joke that, a guy was looking for a woman or something like that. And I forget what he talked about. And he said something about, well, what can I get for a rib? Yeah, it's crazy where we're at, but it really does start grounding a guy. I think is where, as a man, this is where I think we're supposed to be in control of our house. This is where we're supposed to be.
I think God let Adam know that, didn't he? That wasn't a good excuse. He was supposed to be in control.
Yeah. And so that's like I say, as for me and our house, we'll serve the Lord.
Good.
And so it's one of those things that, a little Creed man, he does I'll let him do the prayers here and there and stuff before we eat. And those little they got little YouTube Bible deals where, they got some little cartoons,
mm-hmm.
and he loves them. He watches them all the time. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Just trying to get little ways to where that's instilled in them. You're always constantly trying to have that where that's.
Yeah. You want to make sure though, and all parents need to keep this in mind. One of the problems with biblical understanding is that, maybe you were raised and you go to Sunday school and you're a kid and that's the way you remember it. You remember a little kid's Bible story geared for a kid. And you still remember it that way. And there's really more and more and more to it mm-hmm. when you get into it and dig deeper and deeper and deeper.
But at least you're establishing that seed.
Yeah. But when you grow up, it's got to mature along with you.
You've got to water it.
Yeah. You've got to grow that.
This to me feels like what's so hard with kids nowadays, to be able to teach them about Jesus and the Bible, because there's so many distractions. It's very hard to stay interested in the Bible when your iPhone is so much more entertaining.
You got a screen in front of you.
Those iPads and the distractions now, it's very hard to keep them committed to it because of the distractions, in my opinion.
Very. I've given up on my phone. I don't even carry mine around with me. I just check it a couple of times a day. I don't like to be tied to it.
Yeah, my business doesn't quite allow me to. It's one of those things, though, that I think you can see the good and you got to be aware of the bad.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing what a guy can get done with it for where I'm at. But you also have to make sure that, okay, family's here, time to be done.
Yeah.
Thing goes away. So it's definitely got to be disciplined enough to find out when it's time to put it away, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, guy can stay on that thing, especially right now with the news feed. Holy smokes, the guy can stay on Twitter for about 3 or 4 hours and just keep learning what the heck's going on in the country, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild. But man, I was impressed today with your head loops. Man, your head loops look good on the dummy. I can't wait to get you on the sled a little bit. We'll start getting on some slower steers.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I hadn't roped in so long, and I wish that I had a lesson like I got this morning, 30 years ago. I'd still be roping. I'd be winning.
when you talked about, being self-taught, that's what most roping was back then.
Well, yeah, the guys that won back then were cowboys that did it every day.
Yeah. And had no idea how to explain it. It was all feel.
Yeah. They just throw the loop, it goes on the head and turn left,
That's the one thing that I always give credit to was back in the day of your Leo Camarillo era, T. Woolman, Jake Barnes, Clay O'Brien Cooper. Those guys, those were the artists of the day that really started giving us a blueprint for now. That was back then, when Jake Barnes and Clay O'Brien Cooper, I think I read a book one time maybe where they had 10 horses lined up, 10 heel horses lined up, and I think they had 33 steers, and they ran them through 3 times a day. So almost 100 steers a day, that's 8-10 hours probably. And so they were just developing that run. They were artists, they were trying to figure out how to get the fastest, most consistent run possible and develop it and duplicate it and do it time and time and time again. The amount of averages they won, you could tell that they really grinded down that consistency, and they were trying to find that recipe to make those runs. And
I learned how to rope reading Camarillo's book.
And to me, now the angles have gotten so dissected now because of the technology that we have.
Yeah.
And so now to be able to bring now what, the simplicity of the first swing to where you bring it around and where the circle goes around and where your lane and position are to, being able to see that swing like you're looking through the sight of a gun to where you got it zeroed in and, just all the simplicity of things that a guy does every day. And then
like you told me this morning, there's 5 checks on your checklist when you're from the time your horse leaves the box to the time you pull your slack, and if you just concentrate on those 5 things, it doesn't matter what the pressure is. If you're just thinking about doing those 5 things right, you can
the process.
Yeah, the process. You can put that pressure out of your head instead of getting in the box thinking don't miss. That's exactly the wrong thing to think. And that was one of my problems. The fear of failure. You've missed so many times. Now is not the time to do it again. Instead of, okay, here's not what I don't do. Here's what I do. 1 through 5, and do it the same thing, same way, whether it's a practice run or whether it's for the world.
I thought it was fun just to, as we first started our session, the technique, learning the technique, the correct technique, and then trying to turn that into a habit.
Yeah.
And then you had that down, and then we tested it with the jackpot.
Yeah.
And then how did that go?
I let the pressure get to me, just a little bit of pressure, and
cheapest jackpot you'll ever ran.
Yeah, it was. It didn't cost me much.
And then what happened when we got back on the same? We went back to roping again.
Then my loop started. It changed.
And then, so what we did was we basically had a jackpot, 4-head jackpot, like we're getting ready for the American Heroes celebration. And then missed the first one. And then we did it again, and then he missed the second one. Then we did it again, and he missed the third one. Then we had another one, then he missed a short round.
Yep.
And then I said, okay, let's go back to roping, and I started going back through all the steps of what we talked about. Left hand forward, right hand back, your timing, rhythm, and balance. Where's your lane at? Get your position. Find your swing. Am I right? Drove your swing out right there with my fingers. And then delivered. And then all of a sudden you looked up and I said, do you realize you just caught 4 in a row? Not one time did we think about the pressure. So it's amazing where the mind goes. I always tell everyone, you got to be able to catch. The three most important things about being able to be a successful roper, there's 3 things. You got to be able to catch. You got to know that rope. You got to know the angles, the top strand, the back strand, the tip. You got to know all that stuff, the angles of the swing. You got to know the feel of the rotation right there, especially the rotation. The tip of the rope going around your head. You got to have that feel. And they drop their head to the right. They drop their head to the left. They lower their head. They turn their nose out. All those different things. They go left. They go right. You got to be able to catch them. Caleb Driggers, when he nods his head, if that steer pretty much stays in the arena, he's going to catch him. And I wouldn't surprise me either if that steer got in the 3rd row and he still caught him anyway. That guy is that talented. No matter what, he can catch that steer. Got to have that. Number 2, you get horsemanship. What sets up the run as a start? You got to develop those left hand and those feet. You got to be able to, what gives you their start right there, that's your left hand and feet. What gives you that good position? Your left hand and your feet. Where then your right hand gets to show off. But so many times we don't develop that left hand and feet, where then a lot of times you end up in a bad position, a bad start, where then your right hand has to go around your left hand that doesn't know what it's doing. And then the 3rd is a mental game. And then you see how important that, because I always tell everyone, it seems like how we were raised back in our day was everything was don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long before you take that mentality into roping. Don't miss, don't mess up, don't throw that last loop. Doesn't really give you a blueprint on what you're wanting to do.
Well, if you're raised that way, your whole life is that way.
Yeah. Yep. So it was amazing what happened when we just got right back to the process. You looked up and caught all 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's amazing if a guy finds that blueprint of how to set up your run and how to get the steer around the horns and know exactly where to handle them across the pin. And if you'll just stick with that and rope, like you don't even know what round it is, you can just do your job. Just like Bill Belichick says, do your job.
Yeah. That's the way to push the pressure out of your mind, is think of the process. You got to have a process.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really a good way to teach it. And I think you probably have trained a lot of good ropers. I think you're doing a really good job.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I can just say that from my personal experience. I've taught you and I've learned from you.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've had a pretty good dynamic, haven't we?
Yeah, we have both sides.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, no, that was fun. It was fun to watch how much comfortable you got too. And I'll tell you what, when you started feeling that momentum, that rope, man, I'll tell you, that thing was starting to put some sauce on it.
Yeah.
It started to look pretty good. So excited to do it
again.
again.
It felt good.
My goal for you is get you on a horse and get you turning a couple. I'd love to see you be able to compete this year at the American Hero Celebration.
Yeah. Last time I was on a horse around you, though.
Well, I'll get you on one of mine. So,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that'd be fun. You got good hand-eye coordination, and you got a good feel of the rope. You swing the rope real good. It's just a matter of putting some things together and getting them into habit. And when the bullets start flying, make sure that we can remember our training. When David Foster comes looking you eye to eye right there, and you say, go, try to make it past 2.8 seconds before you're in a pretzel.
Yeah, well, David's a national champion, so
I shouldn't feel bad.
I may have thrown you into the lion's den there.
That was awesome. I loved it. That was a great learning experience.
He's a good teacher, too.
Oh, my gosh.
He was a college coach for 20 years and then started jiu-jitsu when he was almost 40 years old and became a national champion. And
he's a stud of a dude.
Yeah, he is. He's a great athlete.
Yeah, for sure. And a big, strong dude, too.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of good qualities.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Well, I appreciate being here. I hope this wasn't the most boring podcast you ever did.
Oh, no, we got to talk about a lot of topics, and no, it was fun. I appreciate your service.
Thank you. And I appreciate all you do with your American Military Celebration and all you do for veterans and the money that you raise. That's really great. I'm sure that's appreciated by all the people that are recipients of that. I know it makes me feel good to see you do that. And I know it takes a lot of time, a lot of your time, and you don't get anything for it, and I really appreciate, I want to thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. And that's the cool thing about my foundation. No one's on a salary, it's just all donated time. But the selfish part of me is the fact that the feeling that you get with being able to give back, is a selfish feeling, and it's something that I think for me makes me feel alive again. And it starts making me understand of what we're down here for.
Yeah.
It's not just about us. And, my dad established that military bone early in me. And so
he was a Marine.
He was a Marine. And it was something that I always remembered and then to see the lack of, the better term, basically the fact that the government wasn't taking care of a lot of these guys. And, you start seeing how the police were getting treated, especially during the riots. And it's like, well, hell with it. They're not going to do it. I'll do it myself. And so being able to, I think the male body is designed to do things. We're designed to use our hands and be outside and do things. And I think that if a guy's not doing something, that's when I think the mind can overtake us. And so the roping's pretty fun, and roping will keep your mind busy.
Yeah.
And also just being on the horse and riding and hitting a certain speed with your horse as you're chasing cattle. There's competitiveness. There's that adrenaline. There's a lot of things that I think really do help a lot of these guys. And I think you've seen it when you went with me to Weatherford, when we got to go over there to Danny Dorrego's house a couple times. And, those 3 guys, it was pretty cool to see one of the guys that's really been struggling with suicide. He kind of got his balls back again when we started catching that dummy and we got him on the horse, and you could just see the adrenaline. You could see the passion in his eyes again, that adrenaline that came back, something to take place, of that energy that a lot of guys need.
Yeah.
And then how cool was it when, the guy that couldn't see, that got his leg,
Nate.
only had Nate. Yeah, exactly. Nate blind and one leg, and we got him catching.
Let him throw a loop from a horse, and he caught the dummy.
Yep, at a walk. We got him from the dummy on the ground where he's sitting down there. And remember, we were tapping the horns so he could hear where to knew where to throw the loop. Rope.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool. He's like, man, this is awesome. Yeah, he said, and he was. What was so encouraging about him was he's like, I tell you what, I'm going to stay after because one day I'm going to see. I'm going to see. I loved it. You get around guys that just have that inspiration. It wakes you up again. And another thing is it gives you. Starts, for me, one of the things that helps me with so much is it keeps things in perspective. For one, I get to do this.
Yeah.
Look at the blessings that I have. I've got both my legs. I've got both my arms. I've got all 10 fingers, luckily, team roping. That's not everyone can say that, I still have somewhat of my mind when I'm not going nuts around here trying to keep up with everything. But, I got control of my mind. And it really does help a guy understand that, man, am I expecting too much? Do I need to have a perspective where, hey, look at what I got. I got 3 beautiful kids, a great wife, and a great place, and I'm passionate about what I get to do. This is really grounds me to. You guys have helped me learn so much of that.
Well,
so
team roping
is
kind of a microcosm of life. There's a lot going on in a short period of time.
Yeah, no kidding.
When you break it down into the processes of all that you have to do to rope that steer in 8 seconds, a lot of things going on there in a very short period of time.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, like a clock.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your friendship, and
same here,
it's
Charlie.
been fun being able to throw some loops and be able to help repay you for the stuff that you've taught me.
And
we're
not through.
Yeah, we're not through. So appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Okay.